power of coming home. Who among us hasn't made a mistake? Who hasn't strayed off course, wasted time, money, or precious opportunities? Today's story isn't just an ancient parable, it's a mirror reflecting our psychology after failure. It is the parable of the prodigal son, a timeless lesson on coming home, unconditional forgiveness, and the truth that you always deserve a fresh start. The burden of shame. The younger son made a terrible decision. He demanded his inheritance while his father was still alive, an incredibly disrespectful act. He took his fortune and wasted it all on a reckless lifestyle. When poverty and despair hit, he was reduced to feeding pigs, an ultimate humiliation for a Jew. At his darkest moment, he decided to return, but not as a son. He told himself, "I will tell my father that I am no longer worthy to be called his son, and I'll just ask to be hired as a servant." This is the burden of shame. He believed his mistakes defined his worth, and he dared not believe in unconditional love. Unconditional love. This is the moment that changes the entire story. When the son was still far off, the father saw him and ran to him. In the culture of the time, an older man running was a shameful and undignified act, but he disregarded everything. He didn't let the son finish the apology he had prepared. He embraced him, gave him a ring, restoring his honor, and threw a great feast. The father's action demonstrates unconditional forgiveness. The father didn't judge, didn't ask, "Why did you do that?" or "Where have you been?" He focused only on the truth. "My son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." The lesson here is, love and acceptance are more powerful than any mistake you have made. The modern lesson. This story holds two crucial lessons for us today. First, for ourselves, don't let guilt or shame prevent you from coming home to yourself, to your family, or to the right path. No matter how much time or opportunity you've wasted, you can always start over. Second, for others, do we dare to be the father in someone else's life? Do we have enough compassion to welcome back a friend, a family member, or a colleague who has made a mistake? Show them forgiveness, instead of judgment. Why safety kills potential. Each of us is born with gifts and special skills, our own talents. But what happens if we never use them? Today's story isn't just a parable about money, it's a lesson about personal growth, the fear of risk, and the consequences of choosing excessive safety. Let's explore the parable of the talents and see if we, too, are burying our gifts. In this parable, a master gives his property, talents, to 3 servants, each according to their ability. The first 2 servants, the one who received 5 talents and the one who received 2, took immediate action. They went out to trade, invest, and doubled their profit. When the master returned, they were rewarded and entrusted with more responsibility. But what did the servant who received 1 talent do? He said, "I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground." This is the psychology of excessive safety. He chose asset preservation instead of taking a risk for growth. What was the consequence? He was condemned as a wicked and lazy servant, and had his single talent taken away. The fear of risk kills potential. Why was the third servant so severely punished? Because his greatest sin was not failure, but inaction. His fear of risk led him into stagnation. He was so afraid of losing his 1 talent that he became incapable of earning anything. The master desired growth, not safe preservation. The lesson here is, if you are not willing to take a risk, you will never grow. The same applies to our talents, skills, and knowledge. If we bury them, by not learning more, not investing time, and not challenging ourselves, they will erode and eventually become useless. In modern life, what are your talents? They are your time, your health, your network, your communication skills, and your ability to learn. How are we burying them? By avoiding difficult projects, postponing learning a new language, or being too afraid to speak up in a meeting. Remember the master's words, "For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away." This is a fundamental principle of life. The person who invests in growth will continue to grow. The person who lives in safety will lose even what they have. Our responsibility is to use our full potential, not to show off, but because that is why they were entrusted to us. Learning to live with imperfection. We all want a perfect life, an ideal job, a happy family, a great community. But what's the reality? Life always has weeds growing among the good wheat. Today's story, the parable of the weeds, or tares, is an essential lesson in patience, acceptance, and how to avoid being a hasty judge. The source of the chaos. In this parable, a farmer sowed good seed, wheat, in his field. But at night, an enemy came and sowed weeds, a type of tares that looks exactly like young wheat. When the plants grew, the servants were astonished to see weeds mingled with the wheat. They asked the master, "Sir, why don't we go and pull up the weeds right now?" And the master's answer is the key. Let both grow together until the harvest. Otherwise, when you pull up the weeds, you might uproot the wheat with them. The master chose patience over hasty and destructive action. This teaches us about the complex nature of the world. Patience and avoiding judgment. The first lesson is about avoiding hasty judgment. Young weeds look very much like wheat. Similarly, in life, sometimes we can't clearly distinguish right from wrong, good from bad, or what outcome an action will lead to. Rushing to act can cause irreversible damage, like dismissing someone who isn't ready, or ending a potentially valuable relationship. The second lesson is accepting imperfection. Weeds will always exist in the field, just like difficulties, difficult people, or our own shortcomings. Trying to eliminate all negative things can lead to exhaustion and disappointment. Instead, we must learn to live with imperfections while still focusing on nurturing our wheat. A modern reminder. In modern life, your weeds could be bad habits you are struggling with, a toxic colleague you can't replace, or a challenging family member. We often want to pull up these things immediately by complaining, cutting off relationships, or trying to control everything. This parable reminds us, focus on cultivating the good things, the wheat, in your life. Spend your energy on self-improvement, rather than exhausting yourself trying to eliminate every bad thing. Be patient with others, because we don't know what will happen in their harvest season. Trust that things will be sorted out at the right time. What weeds in your life have you learned to live with? Have you ever regretted making a hasty judgment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next meaningful lessons. See you again soon.